Don't add shadow using black color like this. And don't add highlights using white color in this way. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 other ways I like to use to add shadows and highlights to my objects. So first of all, we want to create a new layer above our object and set it as clipping mask. So tap here and pick clipping mask. So this way whatever we'll draw here will be visible only on the object that is on a layer underneath. We are going to change the blending mode of this to multiply. And now we can use the same color as our object. So you can tap and hold here to get the same color, or just take it from your color palette if you have one for your illustration. And with the same color, we are going to draw here a shadow. This will give you way more natural looking shadows than using a black color here. Now to add here a highlight, we are going to make a new layer on top of this one. Also set it as clipping mask and change the blending mode of this to add. We are still going to use the same color as our base color. And then we can add here a nice looking highlight this way. You can always make this more intense or less intense by changing the opacity of the layer. Or if you want to make it more intense, you can add here one more layer on top of this. Again, set it as clipping mask, change it to add, and still add here more highlight this way. Same goes for the shadow. You can make one more layer and make it a multiply layer. And add here some more shadow like this. So this is first way you can add shadows. Let's try another way. I'm going to quickly group this and hide it. And let's move to the next circle here. Let's make here a new layer and set it as clipping mask. And we're going to pick a color for the shadow. So now we have here the color of our object. And to get the shadow color, we can make it darker. So let's take it down over here and then more saturated. So take it over here this way. You can also use those sliders over here to adjust it. So basically we went here across the color palette this way. You can use this color, or you can make it even a little bit better by changing the hue. For the shadows, we want to make the hue cooler. So now we have here this red color. To take it to the cooler side, we have to take it towards blues. So it will go to the left, because if we take it to the right, it goes towards yellow, so warm colors. The cold colors will be going to the left. So just take it slightly to the left over here. And this will be our color for the shadow. Let's try it. And now let's make a new layer for the light. Let's set it as clipping mask. And to get the light, we can come back to our base color, this one. And now we are going to take it opposite way than we did it for the shadow. So we are going to make it brighter. Let's take it up here. And less saturated, so this way. And for the light, we are going to make it warmer. So the hue will move it towards right, towards yellow colors. So over here. Let's try it. And this will look like that. Again, if you want to make this stronger, you can still add some more layers. I'm going to group this now, and then I will show you the third way. So I'm going to make a new layer for the shadows and set it as clipping mask. And over here, actually, we are going to use black color, but we are going to change the blending mode of this layer. We are going to set this to overlay. And Now let's take black color and let's draw the shadow. You will get here this kind of effect, and we can still adjust it. We can duplicate this layer, so swipe on it to the left and pick duplicate, and now we can change the blending mode of this top layer to multiply and turn it down. Let's make a new layer for the highlight now. I will set it as clipping mask, and here we can set this to add. And for this we can use here a very light yellow color, maybe something like this. And let's add it over here, so it will look like that. And if you want, you can adjust the opacity of this layer, or you can use here the lighter color option, overlay also, soft light or hard light. It's up to you what kind of effect you want to achieve. Okay, I'm going to group this, and I will show you the last way I like to use for adding shadows. So I'm making here a new layer on top of my object, setting it as a clipping mask, and changing this to multiply. Here we can use a purple color for the shadows. You can either use more like bright purple color or a darker one. Let's try the bright one. It will give you this nice tinted shadow. You can adjust the opacity of this, make it maybe less intense, or you can duplicate it to make it stronger, and then turn down the opacity of this one. It all depends on your scene that you're drawing. And now for the light, we can make a new layer here, set it as clipping mask, and it will be basically the same as we did over here. So we can set this as add, take maybe here a little bit more vibrant yellow, and just add the highlight like this. And again, if you want, you can adjust the opacity or change it to the other blending mode. So these are the 4 different ways I like to use when I'm adding shadows and highlights. Now I can show you how you can use those methods in an illustration example. So I got here this mushroom illustration, and if you would like to practice with me on the same drawing, you can download my Procreate file. Everything is linked in the description of this video. So here are the layers for this illustration, and maybe first we can add the shadow to this little plant over here. So it's this layer over here. I got here another layer on top of this with the veins on the leaves. It is set as overlay, so now if I want to add the shadow, I will add the shadow under that overlay layer. So I'll make a new layer over here. It is set as clipping mask. And here we can use the method where we hand pick the color. So let's take the color from the leaf, this one. Let's open the color palette. And for the shadow, we are going to take this to the bottom and right, like this, and move this towards the cooler shade. So here, the cooler shade will be going to the right, because if you would take it to the left, we are going to go towards the yellow color, so warm. We don't want that. We want to go towards blue. So I'll take it over here like this. And now I'm going to pick a brush I would like to use. Maybe for this I can just take this one. These are my brushes. If you're interested in them, everything is linked in the description. And here we can add the shadow like that. Okay, and now for the highlights, we can go back to our previous color, the base color of the leaves, and take it up here like this, and take it towards warm color, so over here. And let's add some highlights. I'll just add it very lightly over here, like that. And this is finished here. And let me just tell you one more thing. we have here those veins on top of the shadow, and this is overlay layer. That's why the way those lines look kind of changed together with the shading. I hope this makes sense, because if this was set as normal, it will always look the same, just one plain color. But when we have here this as overlay, it will adjust the color based on what's underneath it. Okay, so I'm going to group this here, so it doesn't distract us. This is finished. And now let's add here shadows to the other leaves over here. Let's make here a new layer on top of this. And here maybe we can use the purple color for the shadows. So we have to change this to multiply. And let's take here this color. And let's draw the shadow. I'm going to add it over here like this. And I will turn down the opacity of this. I would like to make it darker by the mushroom stem, so I'll make here one more layer, and I'm going to set it also as multiply, and just add here some more of this color right over here, just like that. And if you want, you can always merge those layers together, so you are saving your layers. So now let's add a layer for the light. Let's set this as add, and change here color to this yellow one. And I will add the light over here like this, just on the ends, and maybe a little bit over here, like that. I'm going to turn down the opacity of this, so it's not too strong. Okay, I'm going to group this now, and hide the group. Now we can add the shadow and light to this part of the mushroom. So it's over here, the base shape for this is over here. Then we have here a layer with some texture and the layer with those lines. We can make the shadow here on top of those details. So over here, let's set this layer as clipping mask, and let's change this here to multiply. Let's use here the color of the mushroom. So it's this one. I'm going to change the brush here for maybe something different. Maybe I will use here this one. And let's add the shadow over here. I'm going to make here this part also darker. And I would like to add here more shadow right by the edge over here. So for this, I'll make one more layer, set it as clipping mask, and change it to multiply 2. And now I can darken this shadow even more over here, like this. And if you feel like you would like this still darker, you can always mix those methods I showed you before. So if you want to, you can add here one more layer, you can set it as clipping mask, and maybe now change this to overlay and use here black color if you want to really have here like darker shadow. You can always just experiment and see what looks the best for you. Let's add the shadow to the stem in the same way. First I'm going to group this, and here I'm not adding any light because there's not really much light coming to this part. Okay, so let's go to the stem and let's make a new layer on top of the texture here. Let's set it as clipping mask, change this to multiply, and let's take the color of the stem, so this one over here, and let's add the shadow, so like this. Now we can make one more layer here to make it stronger. Again, let's make it multiply and darken this up. And over here, I would like to have the bottom part of the stem way darker. So for this, I'll make here one more layer, set it as clipping mask, and I'm going to add here a purple color for the shadow. I will change this to multiply 2, And now I can maybe take this darker purple color and add it here lightly like this. And maybe just a tiny bit over here, the top part. So it looks like it's really dark in there. And I will turn down the opacity of this just a little bit. Okay. Okay, now let's add here some highlights. Let's make a new layer for this. Set it as clipping mask and change this to add. Let's take here this yellow color. And we can add the highlight over here like this. And just a little bit here on the edge of the shadows like that. This will make them pop. And we can turn down the opacity here. I'll make it 50%. And the stem is finished. Let's group this. And now we have here only the cap left. And because we have here those white spots on top of the cap, I would like to use here the method with the black color and overlay layer. So let's make a new layer, set it as clipping mask, and change it to overlay. Let's take black color. I'm going to change here my brush. And let's add it over here like this. Okay, and now we can duplicate this layer and change the top one to multiply. And we have to turn down the opacity of this. This is way too dark now. I'll make it here 13, and maybe I will also turn down the opacity of the bottom layer. I'll set it here to 68. If you want to make this more intense, we can make here one more layer. Set it as clipping mask, maybe change it to overlay. And with a smaller brush size, I would like to add some more shadow right over here, like that. And now, very lightly, I'll add it also over here. And I will turn down the opacity of this. I want this to be there visible just a little bit. So now let's make here one more layer for the light. Let's set it as clipping mask and change it to add. We can use here a yellow color. And we can add here the light like this. This looks very strong, but we'll turn down the opacity of this in a second. Maybe let's see how this will look with other blending mode. Now I think I like the edit the most, but I'm going to turn it down like that. And then I can still make here one more layer for some extra highlight. I want this to kind of like glow over here in the sun. So I'll just do like that. And turn down the opacity of this again. Okay, let's group all of this. This is finished here. And we can still add the shadow at the ground. Let's make a new layer for this and move it here to the bottom. And here I like to use the overlay layer and the black color. So I will start over here like that. I'm going to make this stronger. So I will duplicate this layer. And I'm going to set it to multiply. And now turn down the opacity of this, maybe to something around 35%. And now I would like to still make this darker right under the leaves here and right by the stem. So for this I can make here one more layer, set it as overlay, because first I would like to add here some more color. So I'll draw over here like this. And I will turn down the opacity of this one. And then I will make one more multiply layer, just to darken this up here really nicely and build up this shadow. I think this looks really good. I will just turn down the opacity just a tiny bit, maybe to like 77%. And I would like to go back to the stem and make here the bottom part way darker. So I can go back here to this multiply layer with the purple color. And I'm going to make here one more layer on top of this. We can change this here now to overlay and darken this up. And now turn down the opacity. So this is finished. Let me know in the comments which method do you like the most. And of course, like I said at the start of this video, these are the ways that I like to use. I know there are also different ways to add shadow and highlights, but I hope this video was helpful and you'll find something here for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my Patreon, where I have many step-by-step Procreate drawing tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye!